Hi, all right, welcome back to Left 4 Dead Garage. The last video on this orange pile of junk did pretty well. So, waiting on some brake plumbing from Pinky. I ran out of tubing, so while we're waiting on parts for that, I'm gonna jump back on to this turd because I think I have like 5 weeks before C10 revival, and I'd like to put a few miles on this thing before I took off 2 hours that way, whatever that way is. I think it's east, but I'd like to put a few miles on it, is what I'm saying. So what I've done is I've went completely backwards and I've added to the list. You know, the list was like this high. Now the list is like this high, because that's the smartest thing to do, is add more things to the list. And the truck has went backwards since the last video. The radiator has been back out of it, but I have fixed a few things. It's got a very crappily made fan shroud adapter on the radiator. It actually looks better than the street sign fan shroud that was on the Impala and worked perfectly fine for 2 years. And I almost tried to use it because I held on to that gem. I mean, you just never know when you need a ultra crappy street sign children at play. Just never know when you'll need an ultra crappy children at play fan shroud. I did check all the places where street signs grow in the neighborhood, but nothing was of harvest size. So I had to piece me some strips of aluminum together that are very crudely bolted in the corners, and I sprayed it all black. And if you look at it real quick, can't tell how crappy it is. The next problem is mounting the radiator. This is off my dually, which will not work. This radiator is too tall for the original mount. So I've been procrastinating and trying to figure out the best solution, the best, easiest solution I can come up with. So anyway, the fuel tank's laying out in the yard. I'm waiting on a new sending unit for that. I finally checked it with the ohm meter, and the sending unit is bad. So that'll be here tomorrow. I got my C-notch for it. I got that from Charlie. He decided not to use it. So it's a 10 works C-notch, rather beefy unit. Even come with energy suspension bump stops. Ordered slip yoke for my drive shaft. I'll probably have to cut this one down. We'll do that one in-house. What else is coming? I've got to get some exhaust pieces to put this exhaust together. What else did I order? Oh, rear shock extensions. I don't have shocks, but I have some shocks around here that may work, or we can make them work. So anyway, the main part of this video is I've managed to become a dealer for Ace's EFI. Believe it or not, but this dump is an actual business. And it's been that way since I think the end of last year. So technically it's called Left 4 Dead Garage LLC. So I've managed to become a dealer. This stuff here was not free. There's no partnership. There's no freebies, giveaways, none of that. It's all been purchased by me. So don't think I'm getting this stuff for free. I'm actually an idiot for putting this kind of money in that truck. But I've been curious about this kit, and being a dealer or trying to peddle this stuff because I have friends that want it, I figured I better be the guinea pig before I ever try to sell it to anybody else, because I've heard some good and I've heard some bad. Same way with Holly. I've had my own experience with Holly Sniper that wasn't so good. So you kind of got to look at both sides of that. Would I install the Holly Sniper again? Absolutely, because the Sniper tooth fixes all the problems that I dealt with on the original Sniper. So, but anyway, so what we got here is this kit is the master kit. It comes with distributor, the ignition. This is the 340. I'm a little overkill, but the 340 in-tank setup that's internally regulated. So then you got the throttle body. I don't really know what this is. Some of this stuff I've not even opened. Oh, that's the O2 sensor. So it's got a 1 wideband sensor with the throttle body units. They do have different kinds, like multi-port. Right now they're upgrading for free to the 7-inch dash. So that's, I mean, that's pretty big. And then I paid extra and got the fuel pressure sensor. That way I can read fuel pressure in the truck. Because 2 times I have been whooped by fuel pressure. One was with the Holley Sniper when it blew the hose apart in the tank because the regulator deadheaded and I had an ungodly amount of fuel pressure. So I had too much fuel pressure and then not enough. So I was battling that. Didn't know till I put a gauge on it, then discovered that. Joe's car, the El Camino, I had like 140 pounds of pressure, which was blowing injectors open, making them close, making them stay open, tearing them up, which led to a hydrolock motor and a detonation that broke a connecting rod, busted the block. So from now on, if I don't know fuel pressure, it ain't gonna run. So I got this, and if I'm not mistaken, you can also get one of these and put oil pressure on the N-2. I'm gonna email my guy up there, and if that is the case, then I'm gonna get another one of these this week. I've already got it in the cart, and then I didn't realize that it came with the CAN bus cable, which you have to use this for more in-depth laptop tuning. So let me put this up before I knock it on the floor. So that's the dash, EF wideband. Here's your ECU, tiny little fella. So that's what does everything. It's the kill shot. Now this system is good for 650 horsepower, which if I had to guess, that motor is probably in the 375 range. In-tank pump that is internally regulated. This is a really nice piece. It comes with this sock here, and it's got that mat. It's supposed to have that closed cell foam or something in there to where, since this is a concern of mine, since this tank is not a baffled tank, fuel slosh could be rough on EFI. A sudden drop in fuel pressure, it'll shut down. So this is actually supposed to hold fuel for cases like that, and it's massive. So it comes with that. I believe this is for blocking off the regulator or something like that, I read. Some hose clamps. They even supply you with the correct drill size for drilling the tank and putting in this collar. This, I believe, is an extension for this adjustable setup. So I guess I could have 100% learned this before I got in this video, but you know, I'm just doing the same thing you would do, is open it up, take a look. Got a sticker there, got some hardware. I'm sure that's for bolting this collar down. So this is a pretty nice unit. Yeah, see that extension threads into there, and then this guy right here is adjustable. Fuel pump goes in there, then you have your supply, and you got, you know, feed and return. It's got collars in there, comes with the fuel pump obviously. This pump actually looks just like the one that comes with the Sniper kit, because I have one in there that does work, but it makes a little racket, so it could be like an emergency pump. So that's that guy. Anybody see how that went in there? This is the hose that'll connect the pump to the actual sending unit area. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 2 1/4 inch hole saw. Comes with a couple different ways to mount that screen. Kind of looks like the thing on my tripod. And then I thought it came with a cage looking thing. Maybe that was something different. But this is your mount for your screen, suction cup type deal. Super sticky. Probably should have left that apart. So we'll clean something up and jam that somewhere. Well, I guess I should put these back up where they belong, right? And those. So that's all that stuff. Regulator set to 43 psi. I believe is what this thing is. This thing needs. Got 4 100-pound injectors, so that's, you know, plenty for that thing there. The supply and the return can be configured any way you want to configure it, which being internally regulated, I'm not sure I even need a return. I just wonder if it could be deadheaded, but at the same time, a return system would keep this thing cooler as well as everything else kind of cool. And I can't seem to remember to put all this stuff back up. So you got, it's also got a GPS speedometer with the Pro Dash. So got a GPS speedometer and some other doodads. That's the coil. We'll look at that in a minute. Some kind of like an MSD box. Got those rubber bushings to mount that thing. There's a keychain and some other odds and ends in there, and a grommet for the firewall. All the fuel stuff. Harness. I kind of wanted to look at this and just get an idea how it looks. Honestly, it looks real similar to the Holly, how it's laid out, or how it's loomed rather. Looks pretty good. It's got fan controls. It's got a double fan control, high and a low, which is good because that single fan that I have does have a high and a low. And this one's fuel pump. Not sure what that other one is, but we'll find out. So not a whole lot of harness there, which is good because that's just less to hide. I'm just going to put all this in there with. All right, what is in this little box here? Okay, that's temp sender. We'll just put that in there too. We've looked at that. I think that's everything other than ignition stuff. So more stickers. This looks just like the Holly coil. I'm sure. I mean, much as I hate to say this, I'm sure it's all designed, or I'm sure it's all manufactured in the same warehouse way over there. So I'm not a fan of that, but this day and age, I don't really know what you could do different. So there's the ignition coil. I'll find a good place to put that. Guess I need to make up a coil wire now. And distributor. I have not looked at this thing. I've seen some videos where some people wasn't too thrilled about some stuff on this distributor. So there was something to do with the pickup wheel, or like the reluctor wheel, I guess is what it would be, on the inside. They said it had a bunch of slack in it, so I'm real curious to see what the quality of that. I'm looking right now, so be right back. The video I seen had this pickup part right here. It was loose and bounced all over the place. Thankfully this one does not, so they must have just had a bad one. And then something to do with their mechanical advance was not happy either. This one has a little bit of an advance. I believe you have to go in there and lock this thing out, so the computer system will run the timing just like a modern car. So I'll put this cap back on. I've got a couple Pro Billet MSD distributors in there. Maybe we can compare the two and see what they look like. All right, so I believe that's everything. Covered it all. They do make plug wires and some fitting, some tools, and different kinds of ways to plumb your EFI, like a inline pump, or they make a shallow tank kind of setup. They do make this in a 255 liter pump, which would have been adequate, but I believe it was out of stock, and you know, why not? Might want to put a nitrous plate on it later. If I do, well, I got all the pump that I need, you know. It is pretty sure that this thing has a nitrous controller. I'm pretty sure it's got a nitrous timing retard in this. Don't quote me, but we'll find that out. I know the other kit has like 2-step and all that, which I didn't need it for this truck because it doesn't have a clutch or a transit brake or anything. So, I mean, 2-step would have been fun just for making racket, but I didn't see spending the other $200 to $300 for that. That kit also supported the same amount of horsepower, which is 650. I don't know. So before I start trying to push these things, we're going to see how they work. First things first is I guess I'm going to jump over there and pull the distributor and the carburetor, and we'll drop this stuff in. Actually, I'm going to wait to do this. I'm going to grab these instructions and I'm going to give them a good once over before I even dive into this, and then we'll jump back on the orange truck. All right, apparently this, or mine, didn't come with printed instructions. The Holly may or may not have. I can't remember. I know I had some. Maybe I had somebody print them. I don't remember. Per somebody else's video, thank goodness I watched this, so I had to not stand here and stare at my phone and waste time. That base gasket it comes with is specific for this throttle body, so I went ahead and we're going to do according to the instructions on my phone. We're going to put the throttle body on first, and then we'll go from there. But I was going to jump ahead and not have to video this a little bit, but I figured it would be important for you to see that base gasket. So I should pull the distributor too. I went ahead and I found these little MSD wire number deals, because since I got these ran underneath the header, you will get lost on the firing order like that. So I have to number them or I'll be wasting time trying to figure that out. I still got to clean up the existing wiring. This is a temp gauge, the factory temp gauge, and I believe AC compressor maybe. So got to clean that up. The kit did come with studs, but I'm just going to reuse the ones that I have already in there. I ain't pulling them out, so we'll just reuse. Well, you know what? I guess I'll have to, because it's hitting the back of the throttle body. All right, so let me pull those out and put those in, and we'll jump back into it on the camera somewhere. All right, well, I was gonna jump over there and put the fuel pump and all that in, but that went south real quick because I don't have a 4.5-inch hole saw. I have a 4 1/8, no 4 1/2, so I'll have to run out and get that tomorrow. I jumped over here, put the throttle body on. I happen to have the small block that was in this thing still, so I went there and stole the throttle cable bracket off the Quadrajet, got the throttle working. I swapped out this back stud for that one other, the studs that were in it, a little taller one. That way I can just pinch that thing real tight between those two nuts. Cleaned up some wiring. I think I got to pull some of this back through, because in this little bundle right here, I believe that's my 12-volt ignition from the switch. I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna I'm gonna take the harness and plug it into the throttle body and lay it out and kind of see where it'll go, and then that'll determine where I'm gonna attempt to put that ignition box. And I got to figure out a good dry spot to put this coil. Really don't want to mount it on the motor or anything like that. If I had a riv nut tool, then I would feel okay drilling into that evaporator box maybe and putting some riv nuts in it, but that might not be a good idea either. I'll lay the harness out, I'll plug it in, and we'll see how it looks and get an idea of where things need to go. All right, it's pushing 9 o'clock. I've done a little wiring. I mounted the coil. I kind of laid it out. It looks like it wants to go this way, so we're going to go this way with it. We'll run it across the evaporator box and all that. I'm knocking everything in the floor. Got the fuel pressure sensor in. I got the coolant temp sensor in. What else? Throttle body's plugged in, coil's plugged in. We'll route the rest. This is wideband, so wideband will go down in that exhaust. All I did was scooch that little distribution block over and then put the coil there. Hopefully, well, you know, if the distributor and all that junk never got bothered being rained on or whatever, then that thing should be fine there too. So I'll put, I guess I'll knocking everything off. So we'll find a good routing spot or mounting spot. Might take the jack and stuff off the fender well, which I hate to, because it's kind of neat that it's still there. I mean, not that I'd ever use it, but it's just kind of neat that it's still there. Probably should just put the fender wells back in it. That would probably be a good thing to do in general. Pull this battery tray out. Yep, I guess that'll do it for tonight. So I'm gonna pick all this junk up, and we will get back on it tomorrow. All right, back down here on the orange truck. I got the hole saw to cut a hole in this tank. I'm gonna let Charlie do it because he's a professional at cutting holes in gas tanks, apparently, after his story a while ago. So a 4.5 inch hole saw is not a cheap hole saw. Cheapest one I could find was $45, so I guess I should sell more of these kits so I can use this hole saw more. My sending unit will not be here till tomorrow, but that's okay. Actually, this hole will help me out. I can get in there and clean it out more, clean the tank out more. So I'm gonna put you on the tripod. I'm gonna move the Ranger table around here so we can use it as a table again, and we'll figure out a good spot to put this thing. I looked at how the actual float and stuff would swing, so it actually swings out of the way from the place that I'm planning on putting this thing. Hopefully it'll work out. If not, I guess I get to buy a new tank. So let me move the truck and put you on the tripod. All right, let's see if we can put a hole in this gas tank. Make sure your tank's good and vented. This thing's been venting since 1990, so whatever was in here wasn't much flammable, and it's pretty dry now. So I barely have enough room for this ring, so it's going to be kind of iffy. And it's the best spot I can put it in because it's got like ribs on it down here. Hopefully this works. Get a camera out. Kristen's mutts. Let me vacuum this out, and we will bolt this together. All right, so you can run this either two different ways, the red ring and the black ring. If you're limited on space, then you can run just the black ring. But should have no problem with space, so I'm gonna run both of them. And it says if you run both of them, then you can leave this mounted to the tank itself if you ever have to pull this out and change the pump. So you just unbolt it from here and it'll come off with this red ring. So that, doing it this way, I also do not have to drill the holes, any more holes into the tank itself. So you'll take the 1 inch 1032 screws, you'll put them in this, and then this will go inside. This little like step on here is actually the same size as that hole saw, so that's what centers you. All right, so it says the 1 3/4 1032 screws will go through the countersunk portion of this, through the foam, and they'll thread into this guy. So I'm not sure how difficult this will be to hold all this together. I'm just going to put a couple screws in it just to get started. So you loop this guy in, and this cutout obviously has a purpose so you can get it in that hole, but since I have this little stamp section right here, we'll put the cutout right there. This looks fun. Probably want to leave this fairly loose so you can get this foam gasket lined up. This foam seems odd for a gasket.
I think it's take out the difference in the tank. But holding up for a gas.
Yeah. Yeah, that one in the instructions here looks like corrugated garage door.
Yeah.
Well, they do supply instructions for the fuel pump module. However, they definitely do not for the rest of the unit. And according to the guy at ACES today, they don't do that way. Well, they want you to go download it from the website. That way you have the most current instructions, which makes sense and doesn't make sense at the same time to me. Let's see, does it say how much? Tighten the screws in a crisscross pattern so that the red ring tightens down equally. So I guess you just go at it till you can't go at it no more.
Pretty squishy.
Yeah, and that picture right there is pretty thin, ain't it? So I guess you just keep going till you strip them out or something, I don't know. All right, run into a little issue here. Got this ring put into place. Went to drop this assembly here in, and all those 8 1032 screws. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. We'll just work with this one. Like we're going to center that one up, and you see this one is off most, you know, like a quarter of the stud. This one's even more. I hope you can see this. And then that one is almost non-existent. This one's in a different zip code. That one moved away. Same with this one. I mean, you can try to spin it and get them closer, but it just throws these other ones off that much more. Oddly enough, just with Phillips screws, it's got this red ring like dished down because there's no gap in between the two. There's a gap in between the two, and I guess I can't believe I could get it that tight with a Phillips screwdriver because that's fairly thick aluminum. But we checked it, you know, the stud's going this way, and you can see that it's not vertical anymore. Same with that one. So it's got them pulled in, and then Charlie laid it on there like this, and you can actually, where that O-ring groove is to the inside, you can see gap. So I don't really know what the solution to that is. Could back off on the Phillips screws, but is that a good idea because that's a gasket sealing gasoline? Bend the bolts, but that's having to bend the eight bolts the right way the first time. Might send an email on this one and see what somebody suggests before I tear something up. So when I figure it out, I will let you know. All right, back these Phillips screws off. I swear I didn't get them as tight as it took to get, as tight as it was to get these things loose. That one, I almost stripped it out, so that got a little sketchy there. So I backed them off to where they were loose, and then I kind of cinched them down and then worked this piece until it got lined up. So it will go, but apparently you can't over tighten them, which, I mean, in my mind, I would want that thing as tight as possible because that is sealing, you know, the gas tank from everything else. It took me a couple of tries to get that pump depth set, but I believe that'll be good there as long as I can get it out of there and not knock it loose or anything like that. I did have to use that pump extension. You can see that where it's two pieces there, and that second piece down there, it's got that wrench flat on it. So I did have to use the pump extension. So I'm gonna get this assembly back up out of there, tighten that clamp down where the pump's at, and then we'll plumb the pump to the actual sending unit or whatever you want to call it, and we'll put this thing together. Well, maybe not bolt it all together until I get the, I guess we could test fit this one right here. My fuel gauge swings that way, so as long as the one I bought does the same thing, we'll be good to go. And I don't really need the sock on there. I'm gonna have to plumb or plug off a couple, maybe turn, maybe put a fuel filter on one of them as a vent or something. But I'll have to, I bought the one with 3 outlets because it was cheaper. I knew I wasn't using any of the outlets, so I went cheaper on that. So we'll have to cap 2, and I'll just use that one as a vent, and that may be what it's for anyway. Let me try to get this thing out of there and tighten that up, and then we'll finish the assembly. All right, so the pump's where I want it. Got the clamp locked down. Matter of fact, I'm gonna hit it one more time. I got the return plumbed through. There's a hole in this little clamp here. Just run the hose through. If there was directions on that in there, I missed it. Actually, I just realized I plumbed it to the wrong place. It goes over here. So looking back, probably could have lined this clamp up a little bit better, but since it's just a return, I'm not worried about it. I'll just pull this down a little further and I'll cut that off some more. But that's how it goes together. Got the clamps tight for the most part. Now I'm ready to drop it back in the tank as soon as I trim this hose off some.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Product, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
All right, well, it seems like it's been forever since I talked to this camera, and it's been roughly 2 weeks. I had a plan 2 weeks ago, and the best way I can describe that is if the government came in and worked on this. That's about how smooth my plan went. Between sick children, trying to keep the house alive because the wife was away with work, and a hurricane, not got a lot done. And then when I did have time to come down here and do it, it was 1 step forward and 3 days backwards. So that's kind of how it's been. Even on the smallest things, it's insane. Like nuts and bolts and dropping things and losing stuff in fenders and thinking I'm making progress, and then, well, it just falls apart sometimes. So I have not covered any of the wiring on this really, because basically, I mean, the wiring is in the instructions, so I mean, it ain't really that much to do with it. But I can give you a kind of rundown on where I'm at now. And honestly, I probably should have been working on this edit the whole time. That way I know exactly what I've talked about and what I have not talked about. So let me see if I can do the best I can here. The radiator is mounted. Those are 67 through 72 radiator hold downs. That one is massively crooked because I just took self-tappers and blazed on through there. So radiator is in there nice and snug. Got my fans mounted, fans wired. Transmission is plumbed. There'll be a separate video on this thing right here. Still have to swap the distributor. I've been waiting on that to do that in a video. Make a coil wire. My ignition wire is just hanging out here because I'm afraid I have about a 1 volt difference in voltage between at the battery and in the truck. I don't know if I have clean enough voltage for this ignition, so I'm kind of waiting. I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to put a little tape on it. I'm kind of waiting before I run this stuff through loom and tidy it up, because that yellow wire, that yellow ignition, that factory yellow ignition wire, I may run it to a relay. That way I can have a relay trigger my ignition for the box and all that. That way I have a good clean 12 volts. I know I don't lose, I know that the power doesn't drop out on the switch, but the voltage difference is concerning. I know the Holly is wicked sensitive with voltage, so I just want to try to cover my bases here. Fuel system is fully plumbed. It is not tidied up. Battery cables are, you know, as tidy as I possibly could get them. It has a new battery box, brand new battery box. That was also a small problem because I had already had this stuff mounted and then ended up realizing, if you can see back in there, that's where this thing was, I believe. At this point I've lost count. It may be further back in there. So had to move this and this backwards to allow for the battery. I put new inner fender wells in the truck because I was thinking, hey, while we're at the auto fair, it would be easier if I just bought fender wells instead of monkey with them old rusty ones and then try to clean them up and sand them and blah, blah, blah. Let's just spend $106 on a pair of new fender wells and it'll be nice and easy. Just bolt them in and they're clean and they're fresh and it'll look so much better. And I wasted 4 hours putting fender wells in. Checklist. This is my new checklist because the hurricane blew the original away, so we may or may not be missing things. Sending unit. This system, ACES system, we'll check your fuel level. I did not wire that up. So, but I also have to fix the wire because it's broken. from the dash to the sending unit. Got to do distributor, coil wire. We've done these. We still have to do shocks, extensions, drive shaft. That was another setback. During all this other mess, I decided I'll just knock the U-joints out and put my yoke on. I ordered a 1350 style turbo 400 yoke. What I got was a 1410, so I'm having to exchange that. So that set me back. I need to put, well, I guess I could have did this. This is pretty simple, although I probably would have screwed that up. Still have to do C-notch paint frame. Oh, the bed's missing, and that Crown Vic door is just laying there. Interior, we're probably gonna skip that. By the way, we are 2 weeks away from C10 revival. Yeah, looking a little dark here. Need to fix the door mirror because I went to put the door mirror on, like I said, and the plate fell down in the door on the driver's side. Cab bushing's optional. Hood latch and a prop rod. It's probably going to be a bungee cord and a broom handle. It does have headlights. I have to do exhaust sensor and O2. Motor mount bolts are still loose. So today, O2 sensor and distributor and coil wire, and we can try to crank this thing. Got the tank in. Got my overly fancy setup right here. I did pressure wash everything, although it's piled with junk now and you can't tell it. And then I had to swap a door on my son's Crown Vic because the window regulator took a crap and he already had doors. So I think now we'll just jump in here. I gotta lock this distributor out, and then I need to clean up the vise and bench area so I can actually get over there. I'm praying this video is not too long. I've probably already talked way too long during this part of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this up, put you on a tripod, and I'll show you how to lock this distributor out. All right, so what you gotta do here is it comes with instructions, but I'll show you. So see this nut up under here? That's the stud, and there's a bushing on that shaft that runs right below this guy. And that bushing is part of your advance mechanism. And the smaller the bushing, the more travel. And that's the centrifugal advance when you rev it up. The travel is set by the bushing. You see that blue thing up under there? How quickly it advances is controlled by these springs. So what we want to do is get rid of that. So we'll take this nut off and pull all this mechanism, these weights and these springs off, and set them aside. And then we're going to have to drive this roll pin out of this gear and slide the gear off, pick this unit up, and we'll drop it in this hole right there. And that hole will no longer allow any type of advance because we don't need a mechanical advance and there's no vacuum advance. So all you want is the PCM or the whatever you want to call that, the kill shot box. The kill shot will actually control all the timing, and you have to put everything on 15 degrees before top dead center, and then the pickup and this little reluctor wheel right here, you want those lined up as close as possible. Now on the Holly, if I knew exactly where it was at, I'd get it. The Holly came with a clear cap, and it's called a phasing cap, and that's why when you dropped it in, your distributor would be phased, your pickup would be phased with your reluctor wheel, or some people think it refers to them in there as a paddle. So all right, so step one, 7mm wrench. Take this stuff loose. Now I have seen a video or two, people said they're having problems with their Aces distributor. But I don't know if that was what the deal with that was. Let me get something to pull this. All right, let me get these springs off here. I'll put these in a baggie and just put them somewhere where I probably never see them again. All right, so then your actual weights will just slide right up. those there. So now, as you can see, well, you probably can't see. Now I'm going to try to not damage this thing. Drive this pin out. It might be better if we do it this way. I'll support it as much as possible, but not take a wood sample with my pen here. I'm gonna try not to just knock it all the way out, because it's easier to put it back together if it's still kind of hanging out in the gear. Okay, so you pull your gear off. Do not lose those shims. What we're going to do is put it straight up on this deal right here, run it all the way back around. I don't necessarily know if it yeah, so I'm assuming we'll pull this bushing off too, because if we needed that, we'll never find it again. Yeah, so pull that bushing off, and that shoulder on that stud fits right in that hole snugly. So now we'll just reassemble everything. You take your punch and kind of line your pin hole up until you get it started. Sorry, we're started there. Then carefully ram it home. Don't hit the gear. It's probably not good for anything if you do. So we'll just flip this punch over. Alright, spins freely. Everything's good to go. Didn't bang it up. Let's go find top dead center, 15 degrees before top dead center, and pull that distributor. And I feel like I might have a coil wire laying over there. I don't have to make one up. If I do, it's all good. I'm gonna put these tools up and we'll pull the distributor. All right, I got this distributor in. Let me see if I can find my pin light. All right, I got the distributor in. You can see the little reluctor wheel back there. I hope you can see that. You can see that little reluctor wheel back there. It's kind of lined up with that pickup right in the middle. Distributor is in the oil pump drive, and all I did was just kind of move the body to get that lined up, and this is where I'll snug it down per the directions. So snugging down now. We'll stick the rotor back on, and the rotor only goes one way, round hole, square hole. Don't flip this thing over, because those screws are not captured and you will be searching for them. So just heads up on that. So let's see, let me get this tight and we'll see where the cap landed. I had to fiddle with the oil pump drive because it kept wanting to land number one straight forward. Would have been fine. I don't know. I didn't want it like that. Probably could use a shorter screwdriver to get these tight, but. Alright, so let's see where the cap only lands. It's got a notch right there. You see about the 9 o'clock part on the cap. It will land right there. So number one, this will be our number one from now. So 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2, and we need to build a coil wire. So you can see number 1 is right there, and it's just ahead of it. So like I said 15 degrees before top dead center. So that's where we're at. So in theory, this should work. But I have special luck, so I've got questions here. I don't feel like I put this cap on right. Will it go 2 ways? Alright. So that's number 1. The cap will actually drop on the wrong way. See? If you put it on the right way, then these tangs, or these little clamps, whatever you want to call it, they actually lock in. And you know what? That's back there in the back, and I probably can't get to it. So let me grab a short screwdriver, and I guess we'll build a coil wire, and then we got to figure out an extension for this guy, because we are just a little short from here to that white plug right there. Great. All right, let me do whatever I said I was about to do. All right, I couldn't find the spare MSD wires. Those things actually have a part number. It's the purple green wire. I had a surplus of those things. I used to install a lot of MSD boxes on other things that didn't require that magnetic pickup wire. But I remembered I had this relic here, this MSD box that came out of my buddy Daniel's museum, and I bought this thing about 2 years ago, and it's been riding around in my Suburban ever since. I thought they dated these. They do. So it's brand new from 2006. So here's a daggum relic. All kinds of goodies still in here. There's a purple wire, purple green wire that you can wire into something, but I'll get that part number and order another one to stick it back in that box. But I've just got it kind of looped up in case that wire did come with this kit. Maybe I've overlooked it. Surely they wouldn't expect you to run the wiring harness that, you know what I mean, like you kind of want to lay it out. But if I put this as close to the distributor to plug it in, then where's all this? I mean, really cuts down on your places to put things. So anyway, I'll add that to my list of other junk that I need to pick up off the floor, and along with this wire that's bare, and I'll get some tape and we'll tape it up, because that's the ignition wire to the box, or to everything. The only thing I've got left to do before we can try to crank it is stick some exhaust on it and weld a bung in. So I'm going to do that. We'll halfway do some exhaust, pick up a bunch of junk, because this thing starts up, it's going to be raining pieces everywhere. So knock out the exhaust, and surely we can get this thing to crank today, because I've got to get a video done. Nothing has went smooth. All right, I believe we're ready to crank. I want to go through this handheld right quick. I'm not the greatest at this, so just bear with me. I know there's better. Looks like I need to update that. So we're going to run the Wizard. Start Wizard. We have the regular kill shot. It's mild, I guess. 1 wideband. I have, I don't know which one I got for that, because I guess it's magnetic. Let me look that up. Okay, you'll go with magnetic if you're doing timing control, which we are. So timing control, magnetic. It's got 4 injectors. They are 100.53 pounds an hour. I've already kind of played with this thing. 460 cubic inches. 850. Let's see, and this, you'll give your rundown, make sure you got everything right. Save. Yes. Key off 5 seconds. That sounds like 5 seconds. Okay. So, don't show this again on next startup. So that will always bring us to this. Mine is reading fuel pressure. You have to go in there and you have to ditch one thing. I didn't feel like I needed to know. Honestly, I don't even know what that was set at. I played with this last night. My camera wasn't down here, but I figured I'd just run through it again. See, it says 11.7, 11.8, but if you go out there to the battery, it's like 11.4. So I think we're ready to crank this thing. So let me pull the carburetor cap off. I did a good job of not picking anything up. I got a fuel leak right there. Just seen a slight drip. Yep. So snug that up. Snug that up. Okay. I think we're ready to crank it. We'll have to check for transmission leak because I added transmission lines. So let's see what happens if I spin it over. Not bad. Probably got to give it a little gasola. Let me climb up in here. All right. Oh, I hear a leak. That sounds like transmission. Oh, yeah, we're barfing. Barfing fluid over here. All right, so let me see if I can figure that out. We'll slide under here. Grab a light. I might not have tightened the fittings up. See up in there. That's good. Nothing like a murder scene. So let me grab a wrench. Let me grab a wrench, see if I can get these things tight. Hopefully it ain't the hose leaking. All right, I gotta try to get this video closed out. Okay, it runs. Is it happy? Not at all. I was making improvements, and I'll show you what I was doing in the table versus what I read on the Facebook page, which is so aggravating. I come from a time when forums were king. Now Facebook is king and is pretty much the armpit of information. Just due to the attitude of some people and the fact that if you close Facebook, I am leaking coolant from somewhere. And if you close Facebook, well, then you lose your spot. You got to go back to the page and search what you were looking for. I believe my lower hose is loose. So doing that and then trying to YouTube it, it's kind of a pain. So what I've got going on here is fireballs out the throttle body. Probably not good for that. It seems wicked lean on tip in or whatever, and it is wicked lean. The AFR is going like 34. That's definitely not running like that. So I'm not even sure what. I still have to clean that ignition wire up. Some stuff over there, clean that stuff up. But in this handheld, and I believe due to time. Time is what I do not have, and I've wasted entirely too much time diddling with this truck. I have regrets of even starting on this project because things, well, I guess I just assumed things would go better than they did, and everything took 14 times as long. So here's the handheld. You go up here, go to tuning, fuel, advanced. You'll scroll down here to acceleration correction versus throttle position, and then they wanted me to adjust map acceleration enrichment versus coolant temperature. Well, I might have had a little screw up here because I may have went into TPS acceleration enrichment versus coolant temperature at some point and screwed things up, and it wouldn't run at all. So I moved that back. Actually moved everything back the closest best I could remember without doing like a reflash on the whole system. In some ways it's gotten better, in some ways it's still not good. It does start easy, so I guess I'm good in that area. I have a troubleshoot guide. I just got off the phone with Aces. Some reason I couldn't open my email on my phone. Never seen it do that, so I asked him to call me back. Well, I'm diddling with this thing and it's running, and by the time I realize he's calling me back, call ends. So I don't have an extension directly for him. I'm hoping he'll call me back because it was a 30-minute wait to actually get a live person. So what I can do is, just to close this video out, I can show you that it runs, and then I can show you the issue that I'm having. So that's my target idle AFR, which is like perfect idle RPM and all that. So you'll watch the AFR as I crack the throttle, and it should jump up. 18, 20, 30, massively lean. So I don't know what's going on with that. The idle will eventually come back down. You may not be able to hear me. This thing's pretty loud with no bed on it. For some reason the idle's hanging. There we go. It's coming back down. Got the IAC sorted out. Fan's on, so it's going to be higher than normal. I believe what I'm going to do is, there's a guy in Bedford, Virginia, which is just a couple hours north of us. Dirty Racing. Had a lot of good reviews on Facebook. He'll either do a email tune for $350 or a live tune for $425, I think. I would like to do the live tune. The only problem is I can't drive this thing right now, and I really need this thing better than it is so I can drive it and move it. So maybe I'll send him an email or call them and see if they can send me something, and then we do the live tuning, because along with the live tuning he walks you through what to do. Therefore I could video it and keep it, and I would learn it, not just send me a tune and I'd have no idea what they did, because I really want to know how this stuff works. So that's where I'm at. C10 Revival is in like 13 days. Wait a minute. Yeah, 13 days, and the truck looks like this, and it's barfing coolant up there. So I still got to C-notch it, shock extensions, drive shaft. Went to do the drive shaft, that turned into a disaster. The yoke I ordered was box wrong. It was a 1410 yoke. The 1350 yoke should be here tomorrow. I don't know if I've mentioned that already or not. If I have, I'm sorry. We can just do without that. I'd like to have a door mirror. It'd be nice. Tighten the motor mounts. Finished the exhaust. It's got an O2 sensor. Got headlights. No turn signals. That ain't nothing new. So there's some stuff I can cross off this, but like I said, we're gonna have to close this video and get a video out, because I am 2 weeks behind on no video. So thanks for watching Left 4 Dead Garage. Fingers crossed that I make it to C10 Revival, and we'll see you on the next one.